शङ्कर हर हर शङ्कर जय जय शङ्कर हर हर शङ्कर।
ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। अपारकरुणासिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। श्रीगुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। Deivathin Kural, Voice of God, First Volume, Chapter 2, Advaitam, and today's topic number 4, Why Worship God to Attain the Peace of Non-Dual State. Second and final part. Although the Acharya has defined Bhakti in this manner, he himself has established the conduct of elaborate pujas to Chandramulishwara in our mats. Although he has declared that the ultimate aim is the formless truth of the spirit, he has himself organized the worship of gods with different forms, for which he earned the title Shanmata Stapaka, one who established the 6 forms of worship. He had travelled from one holy place to another and sang stotras, that is the prayers, in praise of the presiding deities there. When we look at this, it is clear that the devotional worship in which we engage in practice has Acharya's approval. There is a general view that Jnana is the highest, that self-inquiry, meditation and yoga are on par, the devotional worship, puja, pilgrimage, etc. are a slot lower, and that religious rituals and practices are still lower in gradation. These days, educated people hold such strong views. The view is widely prevalent that rituals or superstitions, devotional worship, etc. is merely sentimental, and that only meditation, yoga and self-inquiry are spiritual. Although the Acharya, who was immersed in spiritual bliss and who had established Advaita, in which there is neither action nor thought, was a votary of Jnana Marga, that is the way of knowledge, he has approved of devotional worship involving the mind and the religious practices. There is a reason for this. For all of us who are entrapped in this world, the mind is in a state of continuous disturbance. It refuses to be still even for a moment. On the contrary, if we attempt to still it and be in an actionless state and without thoughts, that is not found feasible. Thoughts keep flying as it were on all sides. Our attachments, enmities, sorrows, fears, joys, etc. keep dashing alternately like waves and confusing us. Because of this, we go on planning to do this or that. Therefore, by merely telling still the mind and get immersed in the self, it is not possible to achieve that stage in practice. What is the reason for our inability to still the mind? It is the result of our actions in previous births, that is the Purva Karma. Birth after birth, we committed a variety of wrongs and sins. Till such sins are expiated, the great bliss of self-experience will not become ours. Such bliss can be attained only after the Lord, who is the dispenser of the fruits of actions, has punished us for all our sins. How can the effect of sin be wiped out? It is possible only by virtuous deeds. It is because of his great consideration for the sinner, the Lord gives him another birth, so that the sins committed in one birth could be at least wiped out in the next birth. But what do we do? Instead of doing virtuous deeds to expiate for old sins, we commit newer and newer sins and increase the loads of sins. It is for dissolving the sins instead of multiplying them, the Acharya has prescribed rituals and devotional worship as adjuncts to Jnana. Sins are of 2 kinds, one committed by bodily action and the other by sinful thoughts. To expiate for sinful acts, virtuous deeds must be performed. To expiate for the sinful thoughts, virtuous thoughts must be developed. What is a virtuous deed? It is the performance of that duty prescribed by the Vedas for each one. Worldly life must progress on right lines. Social life will be orderly only if the duties to be performed by using brain power, the duties to be performed by the rulers, the duties to be performed by the traders and merchants, and duties to be performed in the form of physical labor do not conflict with each other but complement each other. It is for this reason that Veda Shastra has divided the society for the performance of the 4 different kinds of duties and ordained the rules and regulations and observances for each group depending upon its duties. If people perform duties without violating this code, that itself becomes a virtuous deed. When does an action result in sin? It is when, acting with selfish desire, we venture to indulge in all kinds of wrongful actions to achieve our selfish goals. By doing so, we load our mind with the impurity of enmity, fear, sorrow, etc. Instead of desiring to achieve a selfish goal of our own, if we start acting consistent with what the Vedas have prescribed, there will be no avarice, no competition. Therefore, there will be no enmity, sorrow, etc., which arise out of such competition. Realizing that it is for the welfare of the society as a whole and the world itself that the Vedas have divided the duties. If duties are performed with the thought for the greater good of the world and not for self-gratification, such actions become virtuous deeds and would do us real good. They not only benefit the society in its day-to-day life, but also cleanse us of our own sins. Total commitment to an action becomes possible only when the itch of self-desire is absent, and therefore the action is honest. Since the mind is totally involved in the action, the chance of its indulging in sinful thoughts is minimized. In other words, virtuous deeds gradually help to cleanse the mind. The thought and action are closely interrelated. If one sits idle without doing any work, all kinds of bad thoughts will invade the mind. There is an English proverb that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. It is for this reason that the mind should be first cleansed if it is to be stilled and Advaita Jnanam experienced. It is because in the early stages it is possible to cleanse the mind only by rituals. Acharya has prescribed the Vedic duties. The thoughts of helping others and of service and sacrifice are the virtuous one, which could remove sinful thoughts. In a general way, we can call it love. To turn this love towards the Paramatma, who is the source of all the sentient and non-sentient world, is bhakti. Since Paramatma is our support base, if we train our mind to be turned to Him, it easily stands attached to Him. Completely devoid of sinful thoughts and the sins of several previous births having been washed out by meditation on the Lord, the mind attains single-minded state of holding on to Paramatma only. For the mind to take hold of only one thing in this manner is the stage prior to it is being destroyed. The mind which was vacillating in a million ways will thus get hold of one thing only and then immerse in it and get dissolved. In the end, the Atma, which is of the form of eternal bliss, will alone survive. It is for achieving the Dhyana Yoga state, that is the state of meditation, by taming the mind to hold on to one thing, that Bhagavad Pada has laid down performance of rituals, practice of bhakti, etc. as stepping stones. Bhakti, which begins with the recitation of prayers, puja, pilgrimage, etc., will help us to take the mind closer to Paramatma, and we will start experiencing His great peace, which is His real nature. It is because, unlike in sleep or the unconscious state, bhakti takes us closer to Paramatma in a fully conscious state. I say that everyone should practice bhakti. It is of no use merely talking of Advaitam. Ishvara, the Lord, is the personification of the state which is of absolute peace. Thinking about Him will give us at least momentary experience of that state every now and then. Instead of talking about the state of Advaita which we cannot understand and to which we cannot attach ourselves with love, viewing the Nirguna state, that is the state without qualities, as Ishvara, the Saguna Brahman, that is the Brahman which with auspicious qualities, only will create interest and lift us. It is for being lifted like this that Saguna Brahman, the Swami, is very much needed. Worshipping him with devotion also becomes necessary. So, bhakti is a requirement not for getting relieved of the sorrows of worldly life, but to gain knowledge of ourselves and enjoy the absolute peace of the self. Pradosha Shankara, Pratyaksha Shankara. தென்னாருடைய பெரியவா போற்றி, எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி, சர்வஜ்ஞா சர்வவ்யாபி பெரியவா சரணம், மாயப் பிறப்பருக்கும் மகாபெரியவாடி போற்றி.